You were at Jets training camp this week,
Yep, on
correct? That was your
Monday.
last one? That was your last sort of check-in
It
visit?
was it was one of my it was the last swing. So I did Jets Monday, Giants Tuesday, and then I was with the Bucks and Dolphins. They practiced together on Wednesday.
All right, so let's take them in order. What'd you glean from the Jets, Albert?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, it's interesting. The first thing that everybody I talked to brought up was the offensive line and how good the offensive line looks, which to me is just about as important as anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're going to have Quinn Williams on in your next segment, right? It'd be interesting to hear from him about what he's noticed because he had to go up against those guys
Yep.
in practice day to day. They have like what they view as three starting tackles in Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, and Olu Fashanu, who's been great and could start at left tackle today if they needed him to. And then two backups that played a lot last year. So they feel like they've got five legitimate NFL tackles, which is way better than it was last year. And then the interior of their line, Joe Tippmann in his second year, and then Oliveira Tucker and John Simpson coming over from the Ravens. So I think like the fact that they've overinvested in the offensive line has certainly paid dividends. And going up against a defensive line that has, and this I'm not misspeaking here, seven former first round picks on it, it really has created an ideal situation in camp for them. So I don't want to get you too excited here. I kind of got the feel going there that they're where the Bucks were when they got Brady. Like that's sort of where the roster is. Like it's ready to go, and it doesn't need a quarterback to be a superhero. So Aaron Rodgers won't need to be a superhero for them to compete week to week, which is ideal, for any quarterback. And then I got a lot of time on Monday. I got a bunch of time with Aaron Rodgers. And I will just say this, like I think he is more appreciative of the chance to play football. And he and I had a really interesting conversation about how there was a point in his life when he was really kind of caught up in trying to prove to everybody that his life is more than just football and that he's not just a football player. And, it was just interesting talking to a guy at 40 years old who obviously the end is much closer than the beginning. Talk about how much he's appreciated about every bit of the process coming off of the Achilles and how he really wants to relish what he's got here and how cool it is to be a football player. Not that he's not more than a football player, but just how cool it is to be a football player. So it just seems like he's in a really good spot, Rich. And just talking to people there and based on the improvements they made on the offensive line, I'd be surprised if he doesn't kill it this year.
So how did you glean that, though? I mean, what are you willing to share with all of us here, Albert, for you to come away to say that he's more appreciative of being a football player than, say, the last couple of years when he has been talking in many different media outlets, including our buddy McAfee, about things outside of football? What made you pick up on that? Did he literally say those words to you? He flat
out said it to me. Yeah. Like,
okay.
I mean, I think that there's just like going through what he went through. Obviously age is part of that too, but like going through what he went through, and having it taken away from you. And when you're around the team, and I'm sure you've heard pro athletes say this, I certainly have over the course of my career covering them, Rich, like that. You just like for an athlete, when you're hurt and you can't do anything to help the team, you almost feel like this, even if you're around them, this disconnection, that there's nothing you can do about. And, I just think it's all of that really has made him appreciate what's in front of him and appreciate the shot that he's got in front of him to go and win a Super Bowl and go and do something that no one's done, for that franchise in half a century. And then, the guys that he has around him too, and the team that he has around him and the shot that they all have collectively. I just, it was interesting because we had a part of our conversation. I had mentioned to him that like, what I had always heard about Tom and, and Brady, I think, and Brady has sort of confirmed this to me in the past too. Like most guys don't fall out of love with Sunday, right? Like when they retire, they fall out of love with Monday through Saturday.
Yes,
They fall out of
indeed.
love. They fall out of love with having to run up a hill in March.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like, I think the one thing that was interesting talking to Aaron about this was that he was like, I loved all of that this year. I loved getting ready for the season. I loved being around my teammates and OTAs. I loved training camp, even mundane as it can be. I loved every part of it. And not that he didn't always really like those parts, but I think that I don't know, and this part's my perception of it, but I do think like part of that appreciation again is just having it snatched away from you. And especially when a guy gets injured at that age, I think that I think that there's just like that mortality, that your football mortality slaps you in the face, right? Like you're not going to have this forever. And so, just having the ability to appreciate every part of it. He hasn't played in a game yet, he hasn't played in a regular season game since tearing his Achilles, but having a real appreciation, for every part of it. It was just really cool listening to him talk about that.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.